Next Gen Techtalks podcast, where we share insights and tips from the best in business.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Next Gen Tech Talks podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with me. He is Cassie, a principal program manager, Power Apps, Microsoft, who oversees some of the most innovative and impactful projects in the tech industry. Kashyap, thank you so much for joining this session today with us, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's going to be fun to be here. Everyone, I'm Casey Burke. I work on the Power Apps team at Microsoft and leading application lifecycle management. So a lot of fun projects we have in the works, and looking forward to chatting about it today.
Let's start the discussion on this note. So basically, when we were doing earlier the deployments and all other things, whenever we go ahead, any solution migration and other things, we were doing manually. And sometimes we follow whoever want to do CI/CD, they used to do differently. So, and we agree that ALM Power Platform definitely given a feather to it. So, what is your point of view? What's unique in Power Platform ALM? Maybe you want to touch on the cost angle also. I think that will be really helpful. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this goes back a little ways because I know you've worked with Dynamics for quite some time now. I think I'm going on 12, maybe 13 years. So it was around I kind of started in what we used to call Dynamics CRM 2011, which is when the solution system came out. And so you have the ability to manually export and import solutions, and that was kind of step one. It gave birth later to, as the platform grew and things like that, towards some more pro developer or code first developer focused tools. So you could start automating a lot of the ALM processes. And that's where, me, when I worked in the partner channels, for the larger projects, we would go set up things like Azure DevOps. The cost ended up being really high. And so it had to be a big project that you were going to be on for a while. There's just a lot of overhead in it, right? And there's a lot of sophistication. And so that kind of gave birth as we started growing in Power Platform and Power Apps to this third generation of ALM, which is native. And there were several reasons for that. One of them was just the mere sophistication, as well as not being approachable for citizen developers, sending them into Azure DevOps to orchestrate their deployments. But then the Power Platform increasingly became about connectivity. So over 1,000 different connectors in the ecosystem, right? And with a lot of those low code assets and connections and things like that, that's where we came to the realization that we really needed to start managing some of our own ALM workloads to handle things like connections, because it's extremely difficult to do within Azure DevOps. So that kind of gave birth to this new generation. We're definitely not done yet. We have a lot more in the works. So we have pipelines, which handles the releases, and then source code integration, which was announced at Build. And it's going to be available in public preview here very shortly.
Okay, yeah, that's really great. Actually, I will say in this way. So basically, what is the benefit admins can do their uh, total cost of ownership TCO can be reduced. Basically, that means you are saying it is because they are getting everything within the single ecosystem, and definitely it saves times and other things as per this. Then in future also they can scale the ALM at their own pace, right? That's
Yeah,
with compliance and
absolutely.
safety also, because within the single ecosystem.
Yeah, and so that's a good point too, and something I didn't
Yeah.
touch on yet. But
Yeah.
so we have a lot of customers, especially in the enterprise space, and they want to roll out Power Platform to
Yeah.
hundreds, thousands of users, and they want to support citizen development at scale, and that can be both code first developers as well as more citizen dev or business user type. So these customers don't want to manage multiple ALM tools, and they want to have visibility around the entire process. And so That's really what we did with pipelines. Is allows you to set up a single instance and then have full visibility and control over all the different pipelines in your organization. And we optimize for the best practices as well. And so as an admin, the idea is that you can kind of set it and forget it. And, you're not going to have to worry about did they make the right decision when setting up their Azure DevOps pipelines and some of the sophistication that goes into that. And so there's definitely an angle here too around total cost of ownership, right? Because historically you would have to go think about that on a per project basis, and you'd have to configure custom pipelines, right, for each project. And there's quite a bit there. There's obviously some reliability aspects to it as well. And so if you're a central COE team, for example, and you have to go troubleshoot all these different pipelines, it can add up pretty quickly, right? Obviously, some organizations prefer more of a decentralized approach where it might not be the admin team that really needs to keep tabs on ALM, and that's perfectly okay. There's a lot of projects out there that kind of hit that next level of sophistication where Azure DevOps is still going to be a better tool, or GitHub or.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the space that it fits in, right? And we're definitely doing more and more to support advanced scenarios and things like that. But yeah, there's definitely a bar there where the cost of ownership certainly makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. I agree what you mentioned, and it's really helpful also if this is there within the ecosystem. Actually, in this note, something coming to my mind. Some customers, they have different repositories. They want to do the automation. Customers actually sometimes they have Jira. So they want to
Mhm.
integrate some component of Jira also in this. So let's say, what is the repository? Is there any options, or we are planning in future something like that? We can allow multiple source locations.
Yeah, definitely. So, um, I'd mentioned native source code integration. So
Yeah,
that is a Git-based solution.
yeah,
So the way that we've architected and implemented it now is it works on a Git provider model. And so the first one
mm,
that we're supporting is Azure DevOps. Most of the reason for that is that's just where the majority of the Power Platform customers are today.
yeah,
But we're definitely seeing an increasing trend in customers adopting GitHub, which is the second
yeah,
most popular, at least within the Power Platform customer base. Jira, as you mentioned, actually had a call last week with a customer who's on
yeah,
Jira.
yeah,
So yeah, we'll do Azure DevOps first and then GitHub, and then we're going to look at other Git providers kind of based on demand, right? And so
yeah,
that's definitely an option that we can take for the native support.
yeah,
The other thing that you can do today, though, is pipelines and Power Platform have extensions built in. And so what
yeah,
that allows you to do is that anytime you're orchestrating a deployment, you can just download the solution files directly from the pipeline system, and you can unpack that into really any repository that you want to.
mm. Okay, okay, yeah. Okay, I think I got it. Because why I raised this question, I remember earlier few customers, right? They buy their own licenses, some of the things. They will say, okay, guys, I have this repository, I have this licenses. You wear it up your system to this, but we want Power Platform, but we want this. We want
Yeah.
Dynamics, we want this. So this kind of things also comes to picture. So if this is the case, then we cannot go away. Rather, we have to wear it up, whatever they are saying. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think this is really helpful. Those who are listening this, you would have getting some insights how you can use your system also. It's not necessary, because people always keep saying whenever Microsoft comes with its own things. It's not actually. So basically, you can still use, it can be cross implementation, but we suggest which is the best possible options. It's all about your call, what really you want to use. So that's what is all about, the basic concept what Cassie is trying to convey. Because GitHub is really great, well-renowned repository as well. Yep. Okay. I think this is really helpful. And I'm coming to another question. So, one of the implementation, for example, there are multi scale integration. We just discussed about the COE. right? So if we talk about COE, LM in future it is will be part of the COE, or how exactly we are considering to in future envision part. I'm trying to understand. It will be part of the COE, and it will be utilized. And let's say, for example, one company is using already 500 or 600 Power Apps. So in that note, while deployment, movement of the solutions into different ecosystem from lower environment to higher environment, and the managing the whole lot of ecosystem, it will be really tedious task for the uh, admins, basically, I will say in this way. So what is your thoughts on this? How they will manage on this?
Yeah, and just to clarify, do you mean COE as far as like center of enablement or center of excellence versus the actual
Yeah,
tools that are power
sitting
okay.
related.
So
Yeah,
those are kind of different topics. So
yeah.
so yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the model that we've really been pushing for with managed environments, and kind of this whole suite is so just to give you some context there too, the name of the team that I'm on is actually called Scale. And really, that is the goal behind everything that we're doing, is so that organizations can support Power Platform at scale, right? So there's a ton of stuff that we've already done, but also a lot to come as far as really integrating the core jobs to be done right into admin workloads. And that's not just around pipelines, that's around the source code management. What
Mhm.
repositories should folks get access to? The automation aspects of it. So can they set it up once and then have it work on a self-service basis? And really all they have to do is monitor it, right? And then from there, we start looking at things, and I'm talking about future things that are already kind of in the works a little bit vaguely here, but so we think about how do you monitor hundreds, thousands of applications across your portfolio and get alerted on the things that are going to be relevant to an admin versus every single thing that goes on in the ecosystem. What grabs their attention. So that's kind of on the admin scale side. On the app scale, and think about like development teams scaling their applications, these same tools are going to work, but more so in the maker and the developer surface. And so it's all about what are the relevant insights and what is the relevant feedback loop in case your application starts having specific errors, or your end users in production want to report issues with it, or even request new features, and then orchestrate that back into the developer feedback loop so they can go ahead and fix those issues, or develop the new features, right?
Yep. Okay. I just want to correlate, because whenever we talk about ALM, right? Now in Power Platform ecosystem, one of the customer was saying COE. Their terminology of COE is not restricted to Power Platform. It's a broader scope, means I am the admin. I have another 10 applications along with Power Platform and other things. You help me to make it together in a single dashboard view or something. What is going wrong? What's going right? You just help me to in a single, normally people see in the single screen. That's
Yeah.
that kind of requirement they normally look. What I faced one or two. I think this is really helpful in this context, but I just want to flip in another part because the discussion came. I'll go with the last question. Last question is all about the government ecosystem, GCC or control ecosystem, I will say in this way. We know there are some locations even though we position, but it is not available as part of the data residency requirement. Even though Power Apps is available, some components of it is not available. For example, I will say they have their dedicated own pipeline. So they follow a specific way. So as your direction is suggested, they can go on their own way, but still they can plug to Power Platform and make it wire it up, as you mentioned last time. It's possible, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And I mean, so we've been in GCC and the government clouds with pipelines and Power Platform for quite some time. They do
Mhm.
receive the updates a little bit later that are public cloud geos.
Yeah.
But as far as, feature parity, we do get there just a little bit later. There are some, compliance restrictions, like you said, that
Yeah.
sometimes apply in
Yeah.
government clouds.
Yeah.
And we obviously have to work within those boundaries. You've
Yeah.
probably seen it more so with a lot of the AI features and things that
Yeah.
are coming
Exactly.
out. Yep, yep.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a that's kind of
Yeah.
a different
That's
beast, if you will. And a lot of the things that Microsoft as a whole has been working through, right? So um, we haven't introduced too much AI yet into the ALM
yeah. Yeah.
ecosystem.
Agree.
There's definitely a lot of things that we're thinking about, and kind of envisioning as far as how it can help folks. But so I don't think there's any major gaps on the
Yeah.
GCC or any of
Yeah.
the other, DoD or
Yeah.
anything on that side right now. But yeah, you'd mentioned customers that use Jira, or they already have existing
Yeah.
processes, or they're managing multiple different software stacks. It might be the same
Yeah.
team. And
Yeah.
so that's incredibly important for us as well. And a lot of what's driven some of our investment decisions. So if you think about the native capabilities, can run Power Platform wherever you're at, right? When you start getting into the tooling side, and say, for example, like we have a code scanning process that is
Hmm.
regulatory. We have to run it on every single piece of software that goes into a production environment in our company, right? So that's where we start looking at the extension points, because we want to make sure that it's possible. If it's not,
Yeah.
a native integration, it might be, take a little bit more work to set up. But at the same time, if you already have these systems in place on the back end, then that is hopefully, in a lot of cases, going to be a simpler integration, right? And you can start adapting in with our developer tooling and things like that.
Restricted ecosystem, let's say government and other things, still can utilize. It's not a major problem. But I agree with you. Major restrictions in on AI part and those
Mhm.
specific segment is the major challenges what we normally face. But yeah, ALM don't have much AI, so that's why still they can tap onto this feature. Okay, so I won't take much time. It's already 20 minutes. I will move towards another section, which to discuss on the personal questions. So I will just ask two questions. How is your life in a day?
A normal day, oh my gosh, it varies from day to day, to be honest. So, and I guess that's what keeps life interesting, right? And so it makes Microsoft a pretty fun place to work. So, part of my role being in product management, I talk to a lot of customers, and I love it. That's one of my favorite parts of the job. And so, I try to get in 1 to 2 customer calls per day. And then, a lot of different IMs and things going on as well, just trying to help them be successful and learning more about their use cases. Last week I was down in our Redmond offices. We had like an off-site all week, and then we come into conference season and get to travel a little bit for that. So it's all trying to kind of, balance the different things that might be going on, that we need to prepare for and get ready for. Then obviously, working in the engineering organization, spending a lot of time with my direct team, and so with my engineering manager, as well as the folks that are making the magic happen behind the scenes, if you will.
Yeah, that's really great to listen actually. I will go for the next round. You mentioned that balance of the life, how you manage personal and professional life. You can be diplomatic, no issues.
No worries. Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have a wife of 7 years and then 2 kids. So family life and balancing that between work is very, very important. And so I
Yeah.
get up and spend my time in the morning with the kids, and then also in the evening. I work from home a lot as well. So during the day, we have to kind of set those boundaries, and that, the home
Yeah.
office, we have to pretend like it is dad's, like dad's not here today, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
Super.
yeah, luckily there's not a ton of travel involved either. It's mostly just when we go down to conferences and things. So Yeah, I think it's the work-life balance has been pretty good for the most
Okay,
part.
that's good.
Obviously, for all of us working in tech, it kind of depends
Yeah,
on the week or the month. It seems to come in waves, right? So
yeah, yeah.
sometimes you get on a really busy project and it's heads down for a while, and then it kind of lets up, and you get to take a little bit of time off.
Agree. Okay. Actually, it is required. It's part of the life because we are doing the work, everything for the family to enjoy, to spend the life good. Uh, this is my personal
Exactly.
perception. I feel I'm doing the work because to maintain my family. If family is good, then all good. I
Really
think,
spot on.
yeah. Okay. In that note, guys, we are winding up the session for today and hope you will enjoy the discussion. Thank you so much, Cassie, for accepting the request. I know it is late evening for you. Thank you so much again for joining.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was great catching up. Take care.
Thank you for listening. Looking forward to see you on a new topic. Till then, bye bye.